It was August 1950. A very important meeting was taking place in the United States. Two individuals were involved. One was Vijayalakshmi Pandit. She was India's ambassador to the US, also Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru's sister. The second individual was John Foster Dulles, an advisor to President Harry Truman. Later on, he became the US Secretary of State. Now, letters written by Vijayalakshmi Pandit reveal what happened at that meeting. The American side had a proposal. They said, let's remove China from the United Nations Security Council. Let's put you, India, instead. Basically, a switcheroo. China goes out, India goes in. You don't need a time machine to know what happened next. India doesn't have a permanent UNSC seat, so obviously New Delhi rejected that proposal. Something similar happened again in 1955. This time, the Soviet Union offered India a permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council, but once again, India declined. Jawaharlal Nehru was Prime Minister both times. He was also his own Foreign Minister, so no one to blame for his decisions. Fast forward to present day, and the issue has become a political lightning rod. Nehru's supporters say it was the right decision. His critics call it a Himalayan blunder. So what exactly happened in 1950 and 1955? Why did Jawaharlal Nehru reject the offers? And was he right in doing so? Time for a flashback. Let's begin the story in 1945. The United Nations was created that year. It had a Security Council with 5 permanent members: the United States, the Soviet Union, China, the United Kingdom, and France. Now, this China was not ruled by the communists. It was ruled by the nationalists. Both sides had been fighting a civil war for 2 decades, but in 1949, that war ended. The communists, led by Mao Zedong, won. The Americans were not happy about this. They did not like the idea of another communist country in Asia. So what did they do? They blocked Mao's regime. They did not allow the communists to occupy China's UNSC seat. Instead, the nationalists held on to it. Now, clearly, this was not viable in the long term. You couldn't have a pseudo-China in the Security Council, so Washington came up with a plan. Take China out, put India in. John Foster Dulles pitched this plan to Vijayalakshmi Pandit. She told the Americans to go slow since India was not keen. Then she wrote to Prime Minister Nehru. We know he rejected the offer. But the reply letter tells us why he did so. It would be a clear affront to China, and it would mean some kind of break between us and China. India, because of many factors, is certainly entitled to a permanent seat in the Security Council, but we are not going in at the cost of China. So Nehru had 2 concerns. First, he thought China would be angry. He thought Mao would turn against him, which he did anyway in 1962, but we'll get to that later. And second, Nehru thought it would undermine the United Nations. So he said, invite China back, then give us a permanent seat. Obviously, that was a non-starter. By 1951, the US and China were at war in Korea. There was no question of inviting China back into the UNSC. So the offer to India disappeared. Was Nehru right in dismissing the Americans? Well, his supporters have 2 things to say. One, the offer was not genuine. It was more of a feeler from the US. And 2, the US was trying to drive a wedge between India and China to try and recruit India into the Western alliance. Is any of this true? Well, honestly, we don't know. John Dulles seemed very keen on it. He even asked Washington columnists to build public opinion on this issue. But all we can do now is speculate. As for driving a wedge, China did that themselves. 12 years after this offer, they attacked India. Even today, the relationship is frosty. So if Nehru's idea was to keep China happy, it did not work. But pretty soon, he got another shot. In 1955, this time the offer came from the Soviet Union. What's more, there was no China angle to it. The Soviets did not want a replacement or a switcheroo. They said, let's expand the council. Let's add you, India, as a 6th member. The offer came from this man, Nikolai Bulganin, former premier of the Soviet Union. No messengers this time. The offer went directly to Jawaharlal Nehru. And what was his response? Same as in 1950. We are opposed to pushing ourselves forward to occupy certain positions because that may itself create difficulties. We feel that this should not be done till the question of China's admission and possibly of others is first solved. So back to square one, the same old argument about China. Now, there are 2 things which stand out in Nehru's statement. One, he is clearly hesitant. He says India will not push itself into any position. And two, he talks of others being admitted into the UNSC before India. Who exactly are these others? And why should they have entered before India? Again, we can only speculate. Either way, Nehru rejected this offer as well. Bulganin actually agreed with him, in fact. The Soviet premier said he was just trying to understand India's position and the time was not right. Was this another missed opportunity then? In hindsight, yes. But Nehru did not see it that way. To him, these were not serious offers. In 1955, he was questioned in Parliament about this issue, and his reply was this: there has been no offer, formal or informal, of this kind. Some vague references have appeared in the press about it, which have no foundation in fact. And the plot thickens. We know that two offers were made in 1950 and again in 1955. We know that Nehru rejected both these offers. Why then did he say no offers were made? Did he not consider them serious enough? Or did he regret turning down both of them? Again, I'm afraid it's impossible to know. The US offer had very little chance of becoming a reality. They wanted to swap China with India. To do that, you must amend the United Nations Charter. And for that, all permanent members must agree. But would the Soviet Union have agreed to this? China was a fellow communist country, sort of like a junior partner for the Soviets. Would they have agreed to replace that junior partner with India? It seems highly unlikely. But then again, we never tried. The Soviet offer in 1955 seems more plausible. No replacement business there. India would have been added as a sixth member. Who knows? Maybe the US would have agreed to it. But once again, we never tried. Nehru had his own reasons for what he did. He was an idealist. He thought the United Nations Charter was the holy grail. But most importantly, he thought India was not ready. His statement to Bulganin confirms that. So do notes written by him in 1955. In June that year, the Prime Minister traveled to the Soviet Union. He spent 16 days there. He traveled almost 13,000 kilometers, and during this tour, Nehru wrote something very interesting. We have said that India is not anxious to enter the Security Council at this stage, even though as a great country, she ought to be there. So Nehru was in no hurry. He thought India had more boxes to tick. In hindsight, we can say it was a missed opportunity. A permanent seat would have helped India on multiple occasions, like on Kashmir, or the 1971 Bangladesh war, or the war with China in 1962. Each time we were at the mercy of world powers or hoping our friends would bail us out. Take the 1971 war, for example. India was fighting Pakistan to liberate Bangladesh. The United States tried to push multiple resolutions against India. They wanted India to stop the offensive. Thankfully, the Soviets vetoed them, all of them. But what if they hadn't? India would have had no choice but to stop fighting, perhaps. Bangladesh may still have been East Pakistan. So having a permanent seat would have helped. As for Nehru's reasons, there is no point guessing. The answer may lie deep inside the archives of the Ministry of External Affairs, maybe in some scribbled notes, or a letter written by diplomats. Many people have demanded that these files be made public, but so far it has not happened. So everyone speculates, from analysts to politicians to journalists. It's an engaging exercise, but it's also a futile one. But here's what I will say. Missed opportunities from the last century should not deter India now. We may or may not have been ready in the 1950s, but today we are definitely ready. India deserves a place at the United Nations Security Council. It is the largest democracy in the world. It is also a nuclear power with 1.4 billion people. If India does not deserve a seat, makes you wonder who does. But do you know what the irony is? Both the US and Russia still support India's permanent seat. In fact, so do the UK and France. Only one country is blocking New Delhi, the same China for whom Nehru rejected two offers. Time machines may not exist, but if history does repeat, I think India has learnt its lesson.